Welcome to Technology for Humans, tech through the eyes of its leaders. Today, we're joined by Jim Remsik, owner of Ruby agency, Flagrant, and the XO Ruby conferences. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Technology for Humans podcast. I'm here today with Jim, who is the owner of Flagrant, which is a design and development agency, and also runs a Ruby conference called XL Ruby. That's correct, isn't it, Jim?
Yeah, I think at this point, it's fair to call it a series of conferences. But
series of conferences, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I definitely want to talk about those conferences a little bit more in the future because I've heard quite a bit. And it's something we definitely want to hear about. I just want to start off, though, with a question that I tend to ask a lot of people in this industry. How did you get your start in technology, in computers, in programming? Take us back to the start.
Yeah. I mean, as a kid, I don't even know where the TRS-80 came from, but it showed up in the house at one point. What we mostly did, my brother and I, who is also a Rubyist and in the community, we learned to program by copying procedural code out of the manual that came along with the TRS-80.
Right. Yeah.
And there was 1,000-line home inventory system at the back of the document, and we did that once. I have no idea why, but it was going to work, of course, because it was in the book, and we copied it line for line.
It was basic, right?
I'll be honest, I don't even remember what language it was, but 10 go to 20, right?
Yeah, it was basic for sure. Yeah. Do you remember? Was it a Model 3, Model 4? Do you remember?
I don't actually. It was so it was just a keyboard and it plugged into a CRT television.
Okay, fine. So was it color? Did it have eight colors or 16 colors maybe?
Yeah.
8, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I had a model just before that. I'm showing my age now. I had the model just before that, which was it was all one big unit, all plastic molded together. And I think you'll remember the tape deck that used to go with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. And I used to spend hours in magazines typing out code that was in a magazine.
I think that is sort of the original open source, right? You just publish your code, much like we do today, but in ink and paper and send it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is nothing like debugging that, when you hit run and it says there's a syntax error and you've got to go and find this thing.
And you had to do it without the aid of the internet and it's paper document.
That's right.
Paper documentation and what have you. So
that's right. No Stack Overflow. No language models. Those are the days. That was good fun.
So were those the good old days?
I don't know. It got us started. That's all I know.
Absolutely. And then after that, again, my brother mostly took to programming pretty well. He did Pascal in high school and whatnot. And I sort of skipped along until I didn't go to university, but I had friends that did. And so I would go down and visit them on weekends, and we would play in the computer lab, and we're chatting with people online in Netscape, Navigator, maybe even Mosaic before that, but and then wanted to we started playing around with HTML and CSS, and I wanted to be able to post a picture of my car, and trying to figure out that how do I get a picture that's on my computer onto a place where other people can see it. And
that's right. And it would take 20 or 30 minutes to upload.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And then, GeoCities came not too long thereafter, and kept on going. I actually had a website that I maintained for, I'll say funeral cars. Hearses is a hard to understand word sometimes, but I was an enthusiast. I was a fan because they're interesting vehicles. And that one actually got published in an AOL directory. This sounds so ancient, but there was a printed AOL directory of internet sites that were of interest.
Right.
They picked it up and printed it in there. It was probably 99, something like that. And, just the old times.
So then how did you get onto Ruby? Where did that start?
I took all sorts of detours. So after trying to get a picture online, I was like, can somebody send me an email from my site? And so that took me on a dive through Matt's CGI archive. If you remember that is, again, the next iteration of open source is you just uploaded scripts to a directory. Also not easy to debug. It's all Perl scripts for the most part.
Yeah.
And then I got my wife actually found a classified ad. Oh, this just sounds like ancient technology. But my wife found an ad in the newspaper. She's like, this thing has the letters that you do, HTML and whatnot. And it was a job for a webmaster with the local government. And so I went and I worked for the local government for 6 months, and through a series of events, wound up working for the state government at the end of the year. And that was a short 2-week engagement that turned into 7 years. And so I showed up there and they said, "Oh, you know classic ASP, right? You know how to program in that?" I'm like, sure.
Why not?
I went and bought a teach yourself ASP or learn ASP in 24 hours and learned it quick, and it served me well. That was, classic ASP is, not unlike PHP or even herb. And so that, all these are just baby steps along the way. And then I went on to the state and did more ASP, some bunch of XML and VB6, and then saw a video about a guy building a blog in 15 minutes, and that was the hook. And then started playing around with it. But really, it was Scriptaculous to be able to have that that really rich JavaScript, like drag and drop interfaces and whatnot. That's what really grabbed me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so you started in Ruby and then obviously moved on to Rails. Why have you stuck with that as your framework of choice? I mean, that's what you've built your agency around.
I mean, it's built on developer happiness. It's a thing that makes sense in my head. We're able to move quickly, and we're able to design beautiful and resilient software for our customers, and we're able to do it quickly and in a way that is enjoyable. We've got projects that are not Rails. Don't like them so much.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I could do more of that thing that I don't like, or we could do more of the thing that I do like. And I'll be perfectly honest. I think I am probably keeping us Rails bound more than anybody else in the company, right? Like, there are folks that are talented and have other skill sets and whatnot. But mostly what I sell is Rails, and we are good at it, and certainly pays the bills.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we get into exactly the same thing. I have a particular client. They're a Rails client, but every once in a while they have a React app as well. And they go, "Look, you're the best developers we know. Can you just help us out, do this one thing?" And then one thing turns into a week of work, and it's ongoing. And and developers being who they are, they might be great Rails developers, but they also know a bit of React and they also know a bit of something else. So it's inevitable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that at times that has bit me a little bit, because I will talk about and sell us as a Rails agency. And so I will later find out that people are like, "Oh, we didn't know that you could also do React," or
right.
And it's like,
right. Yeah. And then they took the work to someone else.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but you don't like to mention it either. I understand the dilemma. I get it. Yeah, like you want to be a Rails development house, and that's what you want to promote. And
and I'll be perfectly honest. We had one of our current clients, which they're TypeScript and React, and we've got 2 people that have been there for a very long time, and they're happy on that project. And they came back to us and they're like, "Do you have more people?" And I said, "We sure do." And they didn't wind up choosing to bring in anybody additional. Like they did a mythical man month exercise, and they're like, "Yeah, actually, this isn't going to help. It would take too long to ramp up." But that would have been half of our team, working in React and TypeScript and Prisma and what have you.
Yeah, I mean, it really says something about you and about your agency that somebody wants to go, "Okay, here's everything."
Yeah, I mean, we have at this point we are half and half design and development. I think it's really hard to create good designs and then be allowed to actually execute on them, and also have a development team that will do them the way that they have been designed. And I've been I have the luxury of having several very 15 plus year experience UI UX designers, and they can run the gamut from creating art, like branding and like just pottery and whatnot, through like really extracting from our clients like what should this thing actually do. And that process is always fascinating to me. I can get the high level, but the level of detail that they dig into, and all of the user discussions and what have you, it's like it's always impressive to me to watch that process happen.
I agree. Finding someone that can put those two seemingly separate arts together, like the logic of how does the UX work and how does this flow work and what should this feature do, together with the design element of that, so that it looks aesthetic as well at the same time, and putting those together so that a client goes, "Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for."
Yeah. We actually had a client that said, "You all have only been here for, a month or so, and I think that our business better than people that have been here for multiple years." And it's just because you have to take a step back and look at the entire system and understand where things are flowing. And it takes a certain skill set to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's not a 5-minute conversation. You have to dig in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I noticed on your website, actually, because of course I was lurking around your website. One of the services that you offer is product refinement. Can you explain what that is? Because I didn't understand that.
It is you have built something, and it is working or it's not. And if it's not working, we can go through that. It is similar to product development, but you've already got something, and it's either it doesn't do something yet that you need it to do, or you feel like it could work better, and it's just not there. Those are typically a little bit more strategic engagements when we have them, meaning that they're shorter, and we help people figure out the right thing to build or the right next step to take. Actually working with we're working on a project right now. They're hoping to 10x their business over the next year. And the process of doing that is not linear. And so we're having conversations to try and figure out how do we improve the ability that you have to communicate with your customers? How do we improve the staff that you have, their ability to do their job on the ground? It's all about mail order and like in-person delivery, like where they have stops that you can go to and pick up product. And they've run into problems where the delivery location has to slightly change for some reason in the physical space. And that has been a significant problem for them. And so I try not to say too much more about that particular client, but
I know it's a problematic thing, right? Like you want to explain it, but you can't. Like, exactly. Yeah.
There are reasons. Yes. I assure you. And
that's fine. We all have to sign NDAs.
Yeah.
I get it. Let's change the subject then. Let's talk about conferences, because this is a subject that I like talking about. Now, I go to a lot of different conferences for different reasons, and I like going to conferences, but there is something about going to a conference with the Ruby folks and the Rails folks that I think is unparalleled, like it's unmatched. Like there are conversations that you have and there are friendships that you make and there are people that you meet that I think are unlike elsewhere in the tech community. And that's not, I don't mean that other conferences are bad, they're not. But I think Rails and Ruby conferences are something unique. Have you found this also?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the first conference that I went to in the Ruby community, I got accepted to speak at Scotland on Rails back in the day. I think it's probably 2010. And I saw that there was a backlog of people trying to go through registration. And I did what felt natural to me was I said, hey, can I help? Can I hop back here and start? I didn't actually ask. I just jumped behind the table and said,
sure you didn't. Just do it.
Tell me when you, send people over here when they need their shirts. I've got their shirts back here. They'll tell me a size. I'll hand them out. And that is, one thing that all three of you are trying to do right now. And it's not working. It's sort of, going back to the refinement idea, right? There was something that wasn't working. So we just jumped in and handled it.
Right.
Absolutely. And so, again, that just felt natural for me. Growing up, we had a large family. Whenever we would go to like a school event, we were always waiting until the end and putting away chairs with the janitors and whatnot. So it's always been sort of we helped out wherever we could and added what value we could. And so that felt very natural. But going in and watching those folks put on that conference, I was like, there's nothing really secret about what they're doing. Like it's pretty straightforward. We could do this.
It's just doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that I wanted to say that I think that scares people, but I think that there are a lot of unknowns. And I do think that, if you can just take a step back and do the math of, all right, people are paying this much to be here and they've got this many people here. And, we could probably figure that many people, out to come to an event and, it would cost that much. And, how do we find sponsorships? Well, the same way that you figure out how to, solve a problem in coding is you look things up and then you talk to people and, you answer the question.
Yep. It's a sales problem. It's nothing more than that. Yeah. And then you personally, or the business does a lot of sponsorships, right? Like you like to sponsor events.
We do. And, full disclosure, not all of those are monetary sponsorships. Like we will exchange our time.
That's fine.
You absolutely.
Sponsorships.
But I think most people think, oh, I can't sponsor. I don't have, $5,000 to give. Neither do I. But the thing that we do have are talents that are valuable. And
right. So write the website or design the logo or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely. And so, there are a lot of things that, we do as a business that ultimately I'm making the decision. So we do, that I do that are, we do them because it's the right thing to do. And we don't always know how the payoff is going to come. We're not saying, okay, we're going to spend this opportunity time of, $4,000 that we could be billing on something else to go do this project for this, this conference or organization or whatever. Because we know that it's going to turn into $10,000 later. Like if you do that work, things happen. And if you don't do that work, nothing happens. And so
absolutely. Yeah. I am, I'm a big fan of exactly what you just said. And I don't believe in magic in marketing. But on the other hand, if you do the promotion and you put the hard work in, the results come in.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
When I first got into consulting, I remember this conversation so clearly for some reason, but I was sitting with a gentleman named Preston. He had been a consultant for a while. He was moving off and doing some product stuff, and right as I was getting started. And so I was like, hey, can we talk about this? Actually, I think he said we should sit down and you should listen to me. But I was thankful for it at the time. And what he said was, it's not who you know, it's not what you know. Sorry, it's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And
okay,
that is, I think what I generally understand that to be like, if I was to put a label on it, it's like, it's earned media, right? It is who are you, and all those people that know you, like, why would they go elsewhere if they know that you can handle the problem?
Yeah. And the return is not always like more clients. I mean, there's reasons we do these things because we like doing them and because we want to do them and because this is our community.
Absolutely. I will say I have described the past 2 years at various points in time to my team as, I feel like I am in Night of the Living Dead, and there are people that are reaching up through the ground and like grabbing on, just like, hey, do you have work? Do you have clients? Do you have how do I get a job? And so it goes both ways. It's not always good to be known. And lots of people will look at longevity or what looks like success and say, oh, you should go talk to Jim. He can help you. And I appreciate all those introductions. And, I have a pretty strict, I personally have a pretty strict double opt-in introduction. And so I'm happy to introduce you to somebody, but I'm going to go ask them first if they're open to the introduction,
right. Okay.
Rather than just drop you in their inbox and now you have to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And I completely understand. Otherwise you get overwhelmed with the amount of communication, because it's not just how many people know you, but there's a quality to that as well, which is a little bit more of an X factor, I know, because you never really know. It's trying to pre-qualify people, but there is something to that as well.
There is. And I still maybe I take too many calls, but I talk to a lot of people, and I don't always know how those things are going to turn out. There was my wife went to a workshop, and she connected with somebody at the workshop, and they said, hey, can you help me build a website? And I'm like, yes, we can do that. We don't typically just build brochureware websites, but we certainly can help. And I don't anticipate this going anywhere, but we built them a Bridgetown website, and then subsequently they got very interested in how to manipulate the website, and they reached out, I want to say 18 months later, and said, I'm thinking about writing an app and want to run it by you. My employer would be underwriting it, and I talked to them. It's a good idea, and they've got really solid funding, and all that. We haven't that app hasn't come to fruition yet, but just like that opportunity would have never come across our desk if we didn't do a single, brochureware website.
Right. Yeah. And I assume that, like me, you get people calling you up all the time saying, hey, can you check out this thing that I built, just to show you, just to get your opinion, no more than that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm always going to take those calls.
We had one of my favorite sales calls. We had a gentleman say, hey, how much does it cost to build an app? And I'm a consultant. The answer is it depends, right?
Yeah, that's all right. It's the only answer.
Because because it does depend. I said, let's have a call. What are you trying to build? And his name is James the Magician. He operates out of my hometown, Madison, Wisconsin. He's like, I have, every time I go and do a show, I have to pack and make sure that I've got all of the equipment for a show, all the various bits and pieces. Some of those, will operate, for a lifetime. Some of them are consumable, if you've got little flash smoke things or whatever. And so it's actually a fairly interesting problem trying to figure out the logistics to put on a show. And I said, I'm not going to tell you what it takes to build this because you don't know who you're selling to. Like, you don't have an audience. I could tell you it's going to cost $150,000 and then deliver something for $150,000. But I don't want to do that if you're going to be stuck, having taken out a mortgage on your home and you don't have a business or you don't have a way to figure out what the next step is. And so I said, build up an audience and talk to them and find out you are not your customer. Find out what your customers need. And then if you can put that all together, like, we'll be happy to work with you. Like, I would love to build that application, but not just to do the work and for you to have no success.
Right. Yeah. Being a good business person means being able to say no to somebody as well.
Even if you need the work.
Even if you need the work. Yeah, that's right. Otherwise, you're stealing from them. I get it. And I've seen it before. It's definitely happened. Which brings up another good point, which is, what is an MVP? And how do you figure that out for your clients? I mean, you obviously have a team of great UX and design that do that, but that's an important point.
Absolutely. And the answer is, it depends.
It depends. Yeah.
So how well defined is your audience? Do you know that, that comes to the viability, right? Like, what is it that your customers are willing to pay for? Or maybe you've got some other, maybe it's actually not something that is B2C and you're trying to sell it to individuals, but like, we just spoke with a forestry division in the Canadian government, and they have a very specific need for tracking certifications and things of that nature. And they don't sell it. They actually don't charge for it. They have a budget and it gets replenished, periodically. But it's the same thing. Like, there is income that comes in to support that process. And can we deliver something that allows us to ship and allows them to maintain that and keep going with the income that they know that they have or anticipate getting.
Yeah, we have to be prepared to push back from time to time and say, do you actually need this?
Yeah. If I had a nickel for every feature request that people made that they didn't actually need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a basic law about development that clients will always have more features and less budget than is required.
Absolutely.
It's just always.
Well, and they don't always take into account, my magician friend, how much is it going to take to build this app? Probably, it could probably deliver something for $150. And then you've got to host it and maintain it and deal with bit rot and security updates. And how are you going to market it? You don't spend that initial build out and you're done. That's just the beginning.
Yeah, that the operating expenses. Yeah, it's not just an upfront cost. There's ongoing.
Absolutely. It feels perhaps obvious, but it's obvious in hindsight for us because we've seen it happen. If you are coming from that, if you're coming into the situation, you're like, I want to build an app. It's like, if we're building a native app, We got to get you into the stores. Like there's going to be a process to make that happen. Yes, MVP, it depends. Like are we talking just a prototype? Like, is this thing just going to be something that you need to prove the concept? That we had a project this summer where really the thing that we needed to do is to prove that we could build it. And the long-term version of that is a much larger project, but here's what it would look like. And you can click around. It is a functioning application. It's not just a clickable prototype, but it's also, it's not reaching out to all the data pieces that it needs. There are things that are stubbed out, and so there's a little bit of hand waving and what have you.
Yeah, which is that's a really good way to do it, because when somebody says, "Hey, I've got this idea for an application, and it's a great idea, it's a killer, it's going to rule everything," typically the people that they've surveyed about that application have been their best mate, their best friends, and their mum. And those people have said to them, "Oh, it's great. It's amazing. It's the best thing ever. I'd buy that." So Absolutely. If you build a prototype of that, they can take it to investors. The investors will be honest with you. The investors will say, "There is no way I'm putting money into this," or "Here's $100,000.
And we, so we actually built out an HTML, it was a Rails app, but we built out, that initial version, and we could build on, or we will build on that. If the funding comes through for the next round. But you could just do a clickable prototype. You could just do, a no-code solution to get that first version done. It really depends on whether or not, the people that you're selling it to, are they going to believe because you could deliver, a prototype in Keynote that you can deliver an actual deployed application? You might actually need to take that next step.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It depends on what the key feature is. Does that key feature rely on something that, does require a little bit of workability, or are we just doing a smart series of screens?
And it also depends on the audience. Right. Yeah. Like there are people who invest in web apps who don't have, maybe don't have the experience, that are like, "Oh, it's going to look like this. Yeah, I'll invest in that." But then you actually translate it into a browser. It's like, this is clunky. And, that animation that you had in there isn't there anymore. It's like, well, that was difficult to do, so we didn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. The inevitable question, or the inevitable topic of discussion, is going to be AI. And I have some questions because I want to get your opinion on some things. First of all, let's discuss using AI in the workflow for a developer. And I think there'd be very few developers who would be standing out of that right now. Like, I think every developer's got their hands in it somewhere. What's your opinion? How does that work? What advantage does that give us now?
I have seen, I've got some folks in my network who are pretty staunchly anti-AI and don't use it. I've got some folks that are leaning heavily into it, and they're vibe coding stuff. And it's a tool at the end of the day, right? Like, I think that you could use Copilot, or you could use Claude Code or Cursor and have it like in your editor, and it's doing the work for you, to throw some air quotes out there, but it still requires, expertise. And I spent a good chunk of my early morning today pairing with somebody who is doing some infrastructure work and writing a bash script. And it took about 10 minutes of wrestling with Copilot for them to say, "I could have just written this already myself." And then I think after 15 minutes, we switched to Claude Code, but it was sunk cost fallacy. Like, this should be easy. We're almost there. And But at the same time, that same developer I have seen, create pretty impressive technology code that was going to get deployed into production for their client. And the amount of work that goes into that is basically setting up all the guardrails and giving it all the context. And so a junior person or a less experienced person isn't going to be able to go in and say, build me an app. They can do that. And AI will always give you an answer. It might not be a good one, but it will always give you an answer.
Right.
And so
with complete confidence.
Absolutely.
Here it is.
You're absolutely right. Which is please don't ever tell me I'm absolutely right, please.
Yeah, exactly. I asked. I found a particular video that I wanted a transcript of, or a summary of, this morning on YouTube, and I plugged the URL into Gemini and said, can you give me a summary of what this video was? And it just did a completely different video, not even close, not even related. Where did you get that from?
I think that it's really interesting. I think after a while, maybe it's not after a while, I think with some experience, you start to see like sort of the telltale signs of somebody, a developer. I was reviewing code for a person on my team, a PR that they had pushed up, and I was like, they would never call that a chevron. Like, those are arrows. Like, it's like it's not wrong. It's just it's not them, and so it kind of makes you wonder. Do I have to look at this a little bit harder now because there could be hallucinations or just wrong.
Or just strange things, or worse, security holes, like things that just shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
When this is what it comes down to, though, is there are so many people using it. The electricity demands are huge. And it's that is something I don't know how to account for. On top of that, there is the ethical concerns of how did this get trained? Somebody, I heard this at RubyConf in Chicago where we met the first time. Somebody said, I've gotten really good results when I tell my prompt, basically write this code like Sandy Metz would. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. But it doesn't feel great.
Yeah, that's an imposter. That's it's not great. And there's another point to that too, which is the future of where do the new developers come from? Because if developers today are learning using these tools, which is okay, they're going to have to, but are they not learning correctly, or are they missing something in their education, or at worst, not having any idea what they're doing?
Yeah, I again, going back to the bash script that we were writing this morning, the person said, if I didn't know better, I would just say, you know what, this is close enough, and we'll let it go, even though it didn't do half of what we were looking for it to do. That was a fairly simple declarative bash script. It shouldn't be that hard. But yeah, I don't know. I think the answer
is something we need to be concerned about. My opinion, my 2 cents, that these tools are great if you know what you're doing. They will add to your development speed and should help you in some areas. For sure, 20, 30% higher development rate is what I would think. Maybe in some cases not. But that's for a good developer, a senior developer, someone who knows what they're doing. If you're a junior developer, they're not going to help that much.
I think the way that I want to respond to that is that I don't know. And I don't think anybody does. Here's the analogy that I would make, though, is that I learned reading out of that Tandy manual, right? And did my access to the internet, where people could have published wrong content, or I could have, not known well enough to not known well enough to see the difference in version between the API that I was using and the API that they were talking about. I think that a lot of these things have existed in the ways that a lot of us learned. It's just that we have to think critically and not overly trust things that we're being told are the truth. So I have an example from my daily life, which is there are people who are not looking, not thinking. They're just taking the literal first answer that they're given from whatever LLM that they're using. I routinely get people trying to sell sex toys, to sell chess books, because there is a podcast with a name similar to the name of my company that brings all those people on. And so like, hey, how do I get on that podcast? Like, you should talk to Jim. Like, double opt-in. So my inbox, and it actually goes to the entire company. But that inbox is wild sometimes. Like, and I get access to a surprise. I have had, it's usually assistance to people, but like, hey, we've got Senator so-and-so, they want to come on your podcast. Hey, we've got the author of this book that they're looking to come on your podcast. I really feel like I should just start a podcast and invite them on. But,
yeah. Because that same error will fool the algorithm too. Like people will hit on, I don't know, because then you're associated, right? That's the problem.
Like it's so interesting that people. I was going to say something judgmental, and so I'll reframe. What I was going to say is that it's so funny that people don't take the time to like just pause, look, see who you're talking to. But what is also true is that most people in their jobs are not granted the luxury of time. Like they're being asked to do more with less. And so I have empathy for these people that email about. I have empathy for people that email me about these wild topics. And I was like, hey, I'm probably not the person you're looking for. You should talk to these people. I now know the contacts for that podcast. And, but by the way, if you need design and development work, we're here.
Yeah, right. So right. Lean into it.
Absolutely.
Just to pick up on something you said earlier on how did we typically learn? I think most of us spend a lot of time in Stack Overflow, and this is past tense now because I think we don't anymore. But so there was a lot of times I'd copy, let's say a block of, I didn't know how to do something in JavaScript, copy out the block, paste it into whatever I was working on, realize it didn't do exactly what I wanted, and then try to figure it out. And then inevitably figure it out and, okay, it now does what I want it to do. So I learned how to do that, but I still used an existing thing to do it. So I don't think there was anything wrong with that. I think that was correct.
Yeah. We have, internally, we've long made the joke or senior developers know to copy the answer from Stack Overflow rather than the question, which is, this isn't working.
Oh, yeah.
Why isn't this working?
Sure. Yeah.
But it's making that leap down to, oh, there's code. I'll copy this and paste it. Like, nope.
Yeah, right. And read a few comments in because inevitably there's someone that went, no, that one doesn't work. Here's how to actually do it.
Exactly. And so like that is an example though of, what if your LLM is full of bad data or hallucinates? Like, well, you got to figure it out. But you also need to figure out how do you tell if it's bad. And some of that comes from experience. Some of it comes from writing tests.
Writing tests, right. Exactly. Yeah, so a grounding in some understanding of what you're doing is necessary before you go, let's use the tools and see what we can do. Or a combination of those things, I guess, is correct.
For sure. I was going to be pedantic and say, in order to be successful, yes. Like anybody can go and make a request and it'll give an answer, and you can go and do with that code as you wish. Might not be valuable or helpful, but it's there.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing that we're discussing carries across into almost any subject that you can study. It's just most obvious in writing good code. Like, if you're reading a book, for example, you can just get it to summarize the book and tell you what it said and never know if that was accurate or not. Or you can use the tools to go, here's a page of text, read it. I didn't understand something. What does that word mean? Give me more context about this. Tell me how this works, and understand it more as a result.
Yeah. I mean, Cliff's Notes are an example. I don't know if you all have those in Australia.
Yeah, I know what that is. Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, you haven't always had to read the original. Like there have been shortcuts. And does that give you the same experience as reading the book? No, definitely not.
Not at all.
And so does it maybe get you far enough? It depends.
Enough to pass an exam.
Yeah. But to take the lesson away, maybe not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think there's lessons to be learned, and none of us really know exactly what that future is going to look like. What I do know for sure, not for sure. Let me backtrack on that. What I am reasonably certain on at this point is the tooling that we have is there's a scaling, and I think we're sort of leveling out on that scaling, the scaling asymptote. It's still going to get better, but I think at a slower increment at this point. So based on that, I think, there was this idea 6 months ago, just as recently as 6 months ago, are we all going to be out of a job? The answer is no.
I will fully admit to having a strong reaction to, I think this is early 2024, but the Devon AI videos that were going around, which is basically showing somebody going through, ran into an error, let me go fix that. And it fixes it, and is pretty soundly debunked within a couple of weeks. But, for those couple of weeks, it's like AI is here and it's going to take all the development jobs. I believe that we are slowing down for a couple of reasons. I believe that progress on LLMs is slowing down. One of which is that those companies were able to race so far so fast because it was unregulated. It was the wild, wild west, and people weren't protecting the content, and so they were able to train their models on the open internet. And what LLMs have led to is a clamping down of the open internet, which doesn't serve any of us, I don't believe. But there's also, and I know that some people argue that what I'm about to say is not super valid, but I look at when I'd taken trips out to San Francisco in the 2010s or whatever, and started using this new app called Uber, and they provided black cars, and it was really reasonably priced, and and then it got more and more expensive, and then they offered lower tiers, and sometimes you get into cars that you wouldn't probably choose to if you had the opportunity to make a different choice. And because they needed to make money, that they're basically lighting money on fire early on to change the behavior, to get people to buy in. And I'm not an expert. I don't know the actual cost of running these services. Lots of people suggest that it is way more than $200 a month for however many people can pay that actually supports. And so it does feel like there is a there is a breaking point on the not the near horizon, but 2-3 years down the road, where turns out NFTs didn't solve everything. I mean, sorry, AI didn't solve everything.
Not in
and technology is technology often brings enhancement, but it doesn't often just completely change our lives. I would say that the internet is one of those things that brought a lot of people closer together. It did change lives. It has allowed us to have this little podcast conversation 100%. That we're having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And definitely, those AI tools that we have definitely produce a change for us right now, as we speak today and into the future, and are an inevitable part of what we do. But we also have to take that with a grain of salt. Like, what is it actually doing, and what is the actual practical uses that are there? And that goes for us as developers as well. Like when a client comes to us and says, hey, I want to build these incredible AI features for my website. Why? What are you going to get out of that?
Who are you going to market that to? And is it something that you're going to be able to deliver on? I have one client right now. They came to us. They had a .ai domain, and we're like, "Well, interesting. Like, what are you doing with AI?" Like, nothing. Like, nothing yet. Like, we're getting there. And there is a plan and whatnot. Will they ever get there? I don't know. I hope so, and I hope that we're able to help them build it. The solution for the problem that they're trying to solve is something that will take a solid couple of years to build. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. Trying to find those business-ready solutions, the things that are actually going to make some money or save some time or produce extra value. These are the things that we've got to actually look for, not just, hey, it sounds great.
Absolutely. And all of those things also cost money and need to be figured into your business model. We have another client that is a SaaS, and they came to us. They're like, what could AI do for us? And I'm like, you're basically a CRUD app. Like, I don't really know.
Possibly make some of your results worse.
Absolutely. It could write some reports for you, but being that your reports are compliance based, you can't afford hallucinations.
Right. Make a mistake on that.
Yeah. And it just, I'm glad that you asked, and I'm glad that you just didn't come to us with a feature request. And at the same time, it's good to be curious, but I don't know how it can help you.
Yeah. Yeah. And there might be something in there, but you got to look for it, and you got to be very well defined about what that is.
Well, and speaking of well-defined, define AI.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
For the most part, I think many people mean large language models or retrieval augmented generation, but machine learning. If you come to me and say, hey, how can my application be improved with machine learning? It's like, oh, that's interesting. Like,
different question.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we think that we have a common language, but it's sort of I forget is it double speak from 1984? Like we're saying the same language, or we're using the same words, but we mean different things. It's just been overly simplified to the point where it doesn't actually mean as much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, because AI is actually, the way it's used as a marketing term. It's not actually a full definition. I mean, it's easy enough to pick up a textbook and find an exact definition for artificial intelligence, for deep learning, for neural networks, for machine learning. Like, these things are all clearly defined by the people who invented them, but they're not the way we use them.
It's certainly not the way that we use them popularly these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is mostly, I think, as a new top level domain. But
right. Yeah. Okay. All right. I want to talk to you about your series of conferences. Tell me about this. Tell me about, first of all, why did you decide to do this? I mean, I think I get it because of what you said at the top of our broadcast. But tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, so this again feels somewhat natural. I feel comfortable like jumping in and trying to provide an experience for people. But I have spoken at probably 40 conferences over the last couple of decades, and the ability to I love RubyConf and RailsConf, and I love to be able to go to a city and hang out with 800 people in the community and get to see all the luminaries in our industry. And that's not the only way that can happen. Like, you can also get together into a space where you can literally meet everybody in the room. And that means that I could meet Errol, I could meet, Jim, I could meet Nadia, pick whoever you want. Like, I can actually sit and have a conversation with them because there's only so many people in the room. Whereas there tends to be some stratification of conferences when you get to the size of like 600 or 800 people. And I certainly don't blame the people involved. Like, they have an opportunity to send a bunch of people from their company, and so they all hang out together, which is great. It also winds up removing an opportunity from other folks that nope, and nobody is entitled to people's time, right? Like that's not what I'm saying, but that opportunity just doesn't exist at a conference of that scale, and so we wanted to make smaller events. We're aiming for about 60 people in the room. And we also I do enjoy traveling, but I also enjoy like the idea of going to Chicago and finding a very Chicago venue. So we've got an arts collective that's a loft that has, soaring ceilings. It's in the West Loop neighborhood, West Town technically, but and
it's iconic for the area.
Absolutely. And then we're going to Atlanta. There's the Limelight Theater, small black box theater, right in downtown. We're going to New Orleans, and there is it's an old church. The Holy Trinity Church is now the Marigny Opera House. And this thing is I think it's Gothic looking, but it's a white brick building that is in that sort of New Orleans style. It's like a little dirty and gritty. Then like in Portland, for example, we're going to an industrial warehouse because it's Portland and it's been repurposed into an event venue. And what we're looking for is decidedly local venues with public transportation wherever possible, good lunch options around it, and then good speakers. So we'll have, I think around 6 to 9 speakers at every city. We've got
all from the local area, obviously.
Primarily from the local area. We've got some folks that wanted to be involved, and they're like, I'm willing to travel. So, but the idea of the events is that we want to. It is not always easy to travel to. Take a flight to a city that's further away and then spend, 4 nights in a hotel in a major metro and have all your meals out. Like it adds up. And that's great for those larger events. Not everybody can do that. And so what we wanted to do was to go to people's backyard. If we go to Chicago, maybe we pull people in from Indianapolis or Milwaukee or St. Louis, but you're not going from San Francisco to Chicago to attend this conference. And then $100 tickets, trying to just like make it a no-brainer.
Just cover costs. Yep.
Absolutely. And we're certainly not getting rich doing this. But the goal is to de-risk for ourselves, but also de-risk for attendees. Like, I should do this. It's good. they're being held on Saturdays, so you don't need to take time off work. You do have to take a Saturday off of your free time. But, just we tried to remove as many obstacles as we could to make this a thing that just made sense for people to do.
How many cities are you doing?
We have 6 on the schedule, and we are doing Chicago, Atlanta, New Orleans in the first leg. So we'll drive that and then go back home to Wisconsin. And then the big one is driving from Wisconsin. Actually, we're going to Rocky Mountain Ruby just as Flagrant. We're sponsoring that. And so we will go there and then from there drive up to Portland, San Diego, Austin, and then back home. So it's about 7,500 miles of road trip in the next 2 months.
You must like driving.
I grew up, my dad was a stock car driver, and so we were definitely a car family. Yeah.
Yeah, different podcast, but what do you drive?
Right now I drive a little 4-cylinder Jeep Renegade. It's actually the Fiat 500 frame or like platform, but it's a little Jeep. So my dad drove stock car, but he raced Ford Pintos, like purpose-built race cars.
Yeah.
And so it's always been mostly small cars, but then
it's in the blood.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what got me into funeral cars. Is I was a car enthusiast, and those are just fascinating vehicles. Like they got delivered to the coachmaker with just the front fenders, the hood, bumper, and engine, and then the frame is empty beyond there. Like it's got the wheels and whatnot.
Yeah, of course.
And then everything from there back is handcrafted onto those cars. They're super interesting, and I've owned 4 of them in my history, and took my wife out for our first date in one. Despite her asking me explicitly not to pick her up in it,
and she still married you.
We just celebrated 26 years on Monday.
That's awesome. That's great. Well done. Where can people find out more about XL Ruby should they wish to?
Yeah, xlruby.com. There is a sign up there. We send a infrequent newsletter. It will probably be more frequent over the next 8 weeks or so as we're giving updates. And then we'll be documenting the trip on the road and posting about that on Blue Sky, on Mastodon, LinkedIn, and
all right. And I'll put the link in the show notes.
Perfect. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
We also have a fire starter campaign. If we're not coming where you are, we have a couple of options where you could buy us a coffee, buy us some tacos, whatever. We are interested in doing more of these, and we've already spoken to folks in Boston, Denver, Kansas City, and several Canadians. I'm trying to figure out can I legally do that, or like what are the tax implications of leaving the country with a conference? But we'll figure that out.
Well, the good thing is being in Chicago, right? It's like easy for some people to jump into.
Absolutely. And like the local Chicago user group, Chicago Ruby, has 4,000 people subscribed to their meetup. So,
oh, awesome! That's amazing. Yeah. All right, so are you planning to come over to Melbourne?
Listen, if I can figure out Canada, that means that we can go elsewhere. So
come to Australia, no problem. You probably can't drive though.
There's international driver's license. I think I could figure it out.
Oh, you just won't be able to drive over. That's all.
Oh yeah. Fair enough. I was like, we could just go out in the outback and go off-roading. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. All right, awesome. Anything else you want to say? I think we could probably keep on talking for a couple more hours. We probably won't. Is there anything else you want to add or anything else you want to tell us about?
No, I mean, I think that covers it. Like we're a design and development agency at Flagrant. We do interesting things like events. We're also doing book clubs. I should mention that. Like we're about to do The Artist's Way, which as XO Ruby might seem strange, but so much of the Ruby and Rails community is about product building product, that we've done the design of everyday things. We've done agile web development with Rails 8. We've done Pooter earlier this year, and book clubs are a nice, inexpensive way for people to gather. And so check that out also on exoruby.com.
Beautiful. Excellent. Jim, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.